This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about the Fathom standard funding process. Also, after this is done, I'm going to go over the new Working with Real Estate Agents form. If you'd like to hang around for that, you're welcome to do so. That is going to be mandatory starting tomorrow. But first, we're going to cover standard funding. Now, this is going to apply. What you're going to see in this slide package applies for all transactions that are opened in IntelliAgent starting tomorrow. Now, unfortunately, there's going to be a bit of a transition because if you've already got a IntelliAgent transaction opened, it's not going to work quite this way, and we're still working on how that's going to be. So I'm going to go over a few possibilities with you, but I can't guarantee exactly how it's going to work if you submit a transaction in IntelliAgent after tomorrow that was already opened. If you're getting ready to start a transaction in IntelliAgent, I would urge you to wait until tomorrow so you don't have to worry about this transition period. So once again, what you're going to see today in this slide package only applies to transactions that you start in IntelliAgent tomorrow or later. And I will talk about some of the transition things that we're trying to work through. I will also let you know that we're working on another process that will involve our title company, Verus. And if you use Verus in your transaction, you will get paid even more quickly than what I'm going to show you today. We don't have that quite ready yet, so I'm not going to tell you how that's going to work, but just be aware that what you see today may get even a little bit better sometime probably in the next few weeks. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because the Real Estate Commission has decided to no longer allow table funding starting tomorrow. I don't want to get into the whys of that because, quite frankly, I don't know about it. It really doesn't matter. We don't have any choice. The Real Estate Commission says we can't do table funding. We can't do table funding. So that's why. Now, this is a new process here for us, but it is not new to Fathom. The process I'm going to show you today is already being used in a lot of other states because there were a lot of other states that already didn't allow table funding. So this process is not new to Fathom. So this isn't something that accounting is learning how to do that they're not familiar with. This is just something that we are learning how to do. And once again, there is going to be a transition period. Things are going to be a little rough. There might be a little bit of pain, but anything that you start, any transaction starting tomorrow and therefore after that will go really smoothly and you will get paid quickly. So how did it work in the past? It took longer than we would like, because first of all, you have to get everything in IntelliAgent. You get the documents all uploaded. The check has to be sent to Fathom. An attorney would mail the check. It might sit on the attorney's desk for a few days. Even if they mail it right away, it's got to go all the way to California. That might take 2 or 3 days. They mail it on a Friday. Monday's a holiday. It might not get to California to Wednesday or Thursday. Once they get the check, they've got to deposit it. It's got to clear the bank. Believe it or not, we've had instances in the past where we got a check from an attorney or from a title company in a title state and it bounced. So we can't pay you until we know that money's good because, we only collect $450. If it's an $8,000 check and we pay you $7,550 and that check ends up bouncing, now we're out $7,550 until we get, the lawyer to make it right. Now, if there is a direct deposit, it still has to wait 3 bank business days before it shows up in your funds. That's just the way the banks work. It's nothing that Fathom's doing. So these were some of the challenges that we had with the old process. Now, what is going to be the new way that this is going to work? Once again, it's not new to Fathom. It's just new here in North Carolina. After the recordation of the deed, you're going to get the full commission check from the attorney made payable to Fathom. There's no longer going to be a separate check cut to you. That's what the Real Estate Commission has now prohibited. You still have to get your transaction file complete in IntelliAgent. You have to upload the final CD or HUD or ALT or whatever you get. The numbers in that must match what was in the CDA. If you put in a certain commission amount in the CDA and then there's some change and the commission paid on the CD is actually different, that isn't going to work. We get audited and these numbers have to match. Auditors need to make sure that, money's not disappearing or whatever. All your post-closing documents must be uploaded. You must upload the final MLS sheet, or if it's not an MLS, you must, put in that it wasn't an MLS. You must upload a clean copy of the check, and we're going to talk about what that means. But basically, what you're going to do is you're going to scan the check, front and back, and you're going to upload it into a special spot that will be in the transaction. This will be shown as a required document in the post-closing phase, along with the final CD and any other required post-closing docs, which basically just means the MLS sheet that's closed. Now, this is important. And once again, this is the new process for any new transactions that were submitted after July 1st or starting July 1st. There's going to be a transition period where this may be a little different, but I'm just talking about in the future. You must upload it in a required spot. Do not upload the check as a custom document. When you upload the check in the required spot, it will trigger accounting that says, hey, the check's been uploaded. If you upload the check as a custom document, accounting's not going to know about it. So for the new process, and I'll show you where this is. So once you correctly upload it, it will trigger accounting. Do not upload as custom doc. We're going to say this several times. You want to hang on to the original check just until you get paid. If something happens, maybe they decide that the scan you did is not good enough and you just don't have a scanner that's capable of doing it well enough, you may end up having to send the check to accounting. If you tear up the check before you get paid, accounting can't process it. You got to go back to the attorney. They might charge a fee to recut the check. So just wait until you're paid, and then you want to shred the check. Okay, so we're going to go over this in more detail. Anyone have any questions so far about this process? Just unmute yourself. I don't see anything in the chat. Okay, next page. One comment I did want to make also, Matt Wertz went over this stuff in a video yesterday in a webinar. It was also in person. If you were there, I'm going over the same stuff. So if this looks familiar, feel free to leave, or you can just watch. Okay, yeah, I just saw a chat. Yeah, poor connectivity yesterday. Well, hopefully it's better today. Yeah, the slides are going to be made available, and I am recording this as well. Okay, so what are Fathom's responsibilities? When the copy of the commission checks are correctly uploading and accounting receives their notification, they're going to make sure all the documents are in there. So once again, you have to have uploaded a copy of the CD or ALTA and uploaded the MLS sheet. They're going to make sure that the checks are acceptable. They're going to have to print these and take them to a bank and deposit them, or however they do it. So if they're not clear, the bank's going to reject them. If you upload your check by 2 o'clock Pacific time, that's 5 o'clock our time, they will be deposited in Fathom's bank on the same day. So if you upload it by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so even if you have a late closing, as long as it records, you get the check and you can get it in Intel Agent by 5 o'clock, it will be deposited that day. If you deposit it after 5 p.m. our time, 2 p.m. Pacific, it will be deposited the following business day. Of course, they can't deposit on a non-business day. Accounting will document the progress and status in the history and notes section. It may also show up in the payment section. So if you look at in one of your transactions, you'll see these buttons. This is where you look to see what the progress is. This has always been that way. Accounting's always put notes in here when they receive checks. So you can look in here just to make sure that they've been notified, hey, the check's there. Make sure you get those post-closing documents uploaded. We will not pay you unless you've uploaded everything. If you're careless with the check, you lose it, you forget to upload it, or you forget your final closing documents, it will cause delays. If you lose the check and it needs to be reissued, it may incur a replacement fee, which you will have to pay for. If you upload the copy of the check as a custom document instead of a required document, and in this called, copy of commission checks, and accounting will be notified, this will not be notified. This could cause delays. So once again, we're just going over all the potential issues. If part of the check is not neat, it's not clean, it's missing, sometimes I get agents that upload things in Intel Agent and it's only half a check. You got to upload the entire thing. It's got to be clear. It's got to be in there. It's got to be the whole check. Make sure it's clear. There's no watermarks, no faded image or text. We're going to show you examples of a good check and a bad check. If you have to take a phone, you have to take a picture with your phone, you don't have a good scanner, just make sure it's a very clear picture. There are apps you can use. I have one called Cam Scanner that I like to use. It does this very well and it crops it very well. But just make sure if you do have to take a picture that you make it a really good picture. We recommend that you not email copies of checks to anyone, even to yourself. Email is not secure. It could be intercepted. So the checks should be uploaded in IntelliAgent. That's a secure way to do things. If you damage or dispose of the original check before knowing if the uploaded copy is valid, then there may be a need for a new check to be issued. Once again, hang on to the check until you've been paid. The CD Alta HUD has to match the figures that were in the CDA. This is an example of a good check. I want to make sure everyone can see this. You notice it's nice and clear. It does not have to be in color. However, most scanners will do better if it is in color. So I would recommend that you do it in color unless you just can't. Notice the numbers are clear. There's no garbage on it or whatever. This is the back of the check. You have to do the entire thing, not just the check. Do the part of the receipt that's at the bottom. So you want to do the entire page that the attorney gives you, front and back. Any questions about that? That's very important. Okay, another one that Debbie just mentioned is Genius Scan. It's a free app and works really well just to scan in your check if you have to use your phone and not a scanner. Here is an example of a bad check. Notice the top is cut off. Notice it's, the texture's uneven. You've got these, little bars here, whatever those are. It just didn't do a good scan. Count number's missing here. This one is not going to work. You upload something like this, it's going to get rejected. And if you haven't, saved the check, you may just end up having to mail it into accounting if you can't get a good enough image. But do not tear up the check. So this is a bad check. How you get paid. So you've got everything in there, and how are you going to get paid? Well, a lot of you are probably already getting paid by e-checks. Not all attorneys will do table funding anyway before this, so you may have already been getting paid by e-check. If you are, nothing's changed. If you already have an e-check account with Deluxe e-checks, nothing will change for you. So this is old news. But a lot of you probably haven't done this before. This is much quicker than getting paid by having a check mailed to you. Lisa, if you're getting a check that's all the attorney gives, and you should be okay. I mean, basically what we're saying is just upload whatever you've got. Whenever you upload it, you might want to add something in notes and history that says, hey, accounting, this is all what I uploaded for the check is all that the attorney gave me, just to make sure they know. You will receive an email notification each time the check is sent to you. You get an e-check, you will get an email notification. It will be sent to your Fathom Realty email address. You must know how to read your Fathom email. I know there's some agents out there that never read their Fathom email. You have to start doing it. If you don't know how to read your Fathom email, contact Agent Services. They will help you. But that is where you will get a notice that says, hey, Fathom sent you a payment. Wait until you're ready to actually print the check. If your printer is messed up, don't download the check until your printer's fixed. What you're going to do is, when the first time you use e-checks, you're going to have to set up a personal account, use your Fathom email address as the email in this account, and do not use the guest option. You want to set up an actual account and use your Fathom email address. Wait until you can print the check before you retrieve it. Once you retrieve it, print the check. And at least the ones that I've had only have a front. I don't know if sometimes they have backs or not. As far as I know, they only have a front. Just print whatever you download and you'll be good. And now it's just a check. Endorse it, take it to the bank, use it in an ATM. Now I will tell you, at least for me, the State Employees Credit Union ATM, at least the one in Pittsburgh that I used, did not take this check. I had to go inside and hand it to a teller, but the teller would take the check. I have been told that there are some credit unions that don't like these checks. I don't have any specifics on that. If you run into that problem, there is a way that you can get paid by direct deposit. We'll talk about that in a minute. But e-checks are much better. Would strongly recommend you at least try them out. But if they just don't work for you because of your bank, yeah, State Employees Credit Union mobile deposit works well too, according to Clark. I've never tried that, but that's something you can try. So if you have mobile depositing, that should work with these checks. If you have a problem with the check, once you get the check and there's a problem, it's sort of out of Fathom's realm at that point. So Deluxe e-checks has support. I assume it's probably in the information you get from them, but here it is as well. I will make a copy of these slides available. If you want to take a quick screenshot of your screen and get these, that's fine, but you should be able to find these numbers. So any questions on how you're going to get paid if you're going to use e-checks? I'm going to show you in a minute what you can do if you really want to do direct deposit instead. Okay, I don't see anyone asking any questions. Let's move on. So once again, e-checks, deluxe e-checks is a default method. If you prefer to use direct deposit, you must enter a note in IntelliAgent transaction history and notes for each and every individual transaction, not just a one-time thing, and accounting is going to remember next time. You have to do it on every single transaction. So let's back up a little. Right here, history and notes, go in there, add a note that says, hey, accounting, I would like to be paid on this for this transaction with direct deposit. I do not want an e-check. Go in there, you add the note, and that way they will know to do direct deposit. If Fathom Accounting does not see a note in the transaction history and notes section, I'll get to that question in just a second, hold on. Then Fathom will default to e-check. So you have to request direct deposit. Let me see what that question was, it just came up. What is the name between Fathom receiving the attorney check and IA and getting the e-check? But I'll go over that in a minute. So this is the default. Anytime you get paid, so it's for all kinds of transactions, sales, leases, referrals, etc. Anytime that you're going to be, even if you don't do it this way, say the check is mailed to accounting or wired to accounting, they're going to pay you by e-check unless you put a note in there that says, hey, I'd prefer to be paid by direct deposit. And it applies for sales, leases, etc. Now, what's the alternate payment option? That's direct deposit. First of all, you got to enter the note. If it's standard direct deposit, it's going to take 3 bank business days from the time that Fathom initiates the payment. So instead of getting a check emailed to you that same day, you're going to have to wait 3 days. You can do an expedited overnight direct deposit, which is 1 banking business day. If you want to do that, you must put a note in notes and history and says, hey, I would like to do direct deposit and I would like to pay $10 to do the expedited overnight direct deposit. So you put in a note that you want direct deposit and you say you want the expedited version and you're willing to pay $10 to do that. Okay, now let's, I thought there may be a slide later that talks about the timing, Bailey, but you asked a question. So basically, I believe it's going to take 2 days for the check to clear once we deposit it. So, okay, I'm not sure about that chat that just came up. Let's just keep going. I'll see what's on here as far as the timing. And if I can't find it, I will get back to y'all and let y'all know the exact timing. This is how you would request an exemption. Now, say the check is not going to be uploaded. Maybe it was mailed to Fathom or overnighted or wired. IntelliAgent is still going to expect you to upload a copy of the commission check. So you can come on here and you can request an exemption. You click on these 3 dots and it opens up a box and you just put in there, check was mailed to accounting or check was wired to accounting. Therefore, you don't have to upload the copy of the check. But if you don't do anything to this, IntelliAgent is still going to be bugging you and it's not going to be, your file's not going to be complete. So you have to either upload a copy of the commission check or request an exemption and let accounting know that they're going to get the funds a different way. Okay, so here's a summary. Get the check from the settlement agent, scan the check, upload a copy of the check, also upload the final CD, Alta HUD, and upload the MLS sheet. Look for an email. The new, I don't know exactly what the new CDA is going to say. It may say you may mail this to accounting or address, or you may give it to the agent, let them tell you. I'm not exactly sure what the new CDA is going to say. We'll find out. When you're ready to print your e-check, click the link in the e-check email, download and print the check, endorse and deposit, and then when you successfully deposited your check and you verify the funds are in your account, then you can shred the check. So in this scenario, make sure that it shows up in your account as a valid check, then you can shred it. Document exceptions. If you're not going to want e-checks, you put in the notes and history that you'd rather be paid by direct deposit. Okay, let me read that last. Okay, Oksana, well, attorneys will give you the check now if you ask for it. Now, if you run into a stubborn attorney that says, look, I can't give a check to an agent, then they will have to mail it to the accounting address in California, or you can ask them to overnight it and pay for that. Or if they're willing to wire it, Fathom can provide them wiring instructions. But attorneys should be willing to hand the check to the agent if the agent requests it. And I believe the CDA will likely have that wording. Yeah, okay, so Aaron put in there that the CDA is going to ask the attorney to hand the check to the agent. So that should clear that up. Okay, so contact agent services with questions. Aaron, since you're on here, can you verify the timing on that? I thought I remember seeing somewhere, but I don't know where it is now. If they once the check is deposited in our bank, how long it takes before we can actually make the e-payment, the e-check payment?
I think it's supposed to be 2 business days, and then the e-check will be cut. I'm not sure if it's cut on the 2nd day or on the 3rd day. So it's either 2 or 3 days you should get the check.
Okay, thanks about that. All right, that is it for this presentation. I am going to go over the new Working with Real Estate Agents brochure for anyone who would like to stay, but does anyone have any questions about let me talk about the transition process. We didn't really talk about that. So what's going to happen for any transactions that have already been opened in IntelliAgent? Well, we're not exactly sure how it's going to work. What we're pretty sure is it's not going to work the way I just showed you, because we're not going to have that spot where you can upload the check. Now, what we're working to do is to allow you to be able to still upload the check, but you will have to upload it as a custom document, even though I just told you about 6 times, don't upload it as a custom document. So if you have a closing next week, for example, and you do not see a spot where you can upload the commission check in the required documents where I just showed you, then see if you are able to upload the check in the custom documents. And the way you would do that, let me pull this up and I will show you. So everyone should be able to see my IntelliAgent right now. I've got a test transaction here. You'll go in here. Now, obviously, I just started this. You're going to have a whole bunch of documents in here because you've already submitted this. Hold on a minute. I need to resize this window a little bit so I can see what the heck's going on. Okay. You're going to go in here, and this is just the temporary transition process. This is not the new process. Again, this is a transition. So this is going to happen for any transactions that you've already gotten IntelliAgent. You're going to go in and you're going to do upload replace. So if you scroll down here, you're not going to see in post-closing, you don't see a place to upload the check. So you go up here, you're going to go here, and you're going to upload replace. You're going to add a document. I'm just going to pick this one here. This isn't an actual check, but I'm just going to, we don't need to. Add page, save page. I'm just showing you how to do a custom document in case you don't know. Now you go down to the bottom and it says custom, choose other available document. Now what we're working on is a title that's already in here that says commission check. You will see there's nothing like that right now, but today's June 30th. What we are trying to have is on July 1st, if you go in here and do this, you will see something that says commission check. If so, you will pick that. Now, if not, it's sort of not sure. What I would recommend is you can still do add a custom document. You can name it commission check. And you can do okay. And now you've got it in there, but it's in here, and that did not trigger accounting. They don't know that check is in there. So what you can do is you can email accounting@fathomrealty.com, and Aaron, feel free to jump in if you don't like what I'm saying, and tell them, hey, accounting, I just uploaded a commission check and I had to put it in custom docs. Please process it. Now,
I would just add, if you do that in the email include the URL for your transaction. Don't just tell them, hey, I uploaded a check. You got to give them the specific information. The best way to do that, include the URL for the IA transaction in your email so they know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so just go up here, highlight in your address bar, and then put that in the email. Okay, thanks, that's a good idea, Aaron. Now, of course, the other thing you can do is you can just do the old process and you can just have the check mailed to the attorney. How can we get an attorney on the list? Yeah, Trish, I would wait. I would wait until tomorrow. Your district director shouldn't be yelling at you for being a day late or whatever. If you went under contract, actually, if you went under contract, you should have already been created in IntelliAgent anyway, because you should have done that as soon as you did your agency agreement. But maybe you signed that right when you went under contract. That's fine, or submitted the offer. Yeah, if you've got something, if you're ready to open up a transaction in IntelliAgent today, just wait till tomorrow. So the other thing you can do is if you want to just have the check mailed to California the old-fashioned way, or have the attorney wire the funds, that's fine too. That will still work. It's just not going to be as fast as our new process. But if you want to upload the check as a custom document right now, until we're on the new process, you can do that. Just make sure you alert accounting, as Aaron just said, send them a copy of the URL. I would put the the name of the transaction in the subject line as well. Commission check for address, whatever, uploaded in IntelliAgent or something like that. Just any way you can notify accounting. And then what you want to do after that is, give them a little bit of time to actually get that note. Hopefully they may respond back to you and let you know they got it, but you can check history notes and see if they put a note in there that says, check received. If you see a note in history notes that says check received, then you know they got it and they're processing it and you're good to go. Once again, that's just the transition. Transitions are often rough, guys. I know, so, we may have some bumps and don't know, but just bear with us. The new process for anything that was started tomorrow or afterwards is going to be nice. Yeah, you could upload it and also mail it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend uploading it first and just make sure that accounting gets it and check the history notes and see they'll put a note in there that says check received, and then just hold on to the check and wait until you're paid in your account and then shred it. If you upload it and mail it and unfortunately it gets lost in the mail, then you've got to get a new check. I think it'd be safer just to hold on to the check until you figured out that accounting just isn't going to process it the old-fashioned way by not seeing it show up in history and notes, and then maybe you want to mail it in, or contact agent services, let them know what's going on, and they may give you direction to just mail it in. Okay, let me see. Yeah, Oksana just made a comment. Yeah, you can, if you want to, in the meantime, for this transition period, if you just want to wire the funds to Fathom, that's fine. Just, just for the transition, that'll work. But once we get to the new process, we recommend you just get a copy of the check and upload it. That's going to be the quickest way possible to get paid. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to go over the new Working with Real Estate Agents page just briefly. I'm not maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the most. Anyone who wants to leave is welcome to leave. I thank everyone who did join. I'm going to keep the recording going because that might be some information some other folks want to see. Okay, so let's look at the new Working with Real Estate Agents. Now they've got a brochure now that you can hand to your clients. If that's just something your clients read, I would recommend that you read it yourself, because if they ask questions, you need to know how to answer the questions. But I'm not going to go over any of that stuff today. I just want to show you how to fill this thing out. There's 2 pages. There's one for sellers, there's one for buyers. If you have someone that maybe is selling their home and they're also looking as a buyer, you need to fill out both of them. If they're just listing and they're moving to Washington and they're not going to be your buyer, then just fill out the seller one. If they're listing and they may buy later, but they may not, then just fill out a seller one. And if they decide to buy with you 3 months from now, fill out a buyer one. This is some of the same stuff that's on the old one. I'm not going to go over it. Let's talk about the new section with the blanks. Notice here it says note to agent. Check all relationship types below that may That's a very important word there, may apply to this seller. The other thing you need to understand is agency is with the firm. It is not with the agent. You are an agent of Fathom. Whenever someone signs a buyer agency agreement, the agreement is with Fathom. It is not with you. So even though you personally may not like and never want to practice dual agency, Fathom, the firm, will allow dual agency. So dual agency may apply to this seller because you are covering the scenarios where Fathom, the firm, is involved. Now, if you're getting your seller to sign this because you want to list their home, obviously you're going to offer seller's agency to them. You're going to check this blank. The other comment is you are handing this to your client and as a disclosure, and you're saying, here's what Fathom offers. So you should just be checking this. You do not have your clients, they don't need to initial it because they are going to be initialing in the agency agreement. In this situation, it will be a listing agreement because this is the one for sellers. That's where they're going to choose what they wish to allow, but you're just telling them, here's what we offer. So you should just put check marks. Fathom also offers dual agency. Fathom offers designated dual agency. Anytime you have your seller who you're going to list their home sign this, you should have all three of these blanks checked. There just are no exceptions. Now let's look at the fourth blank. This is the one that sometimes will be and sometimes won't be checked. If you have a buyer and you're taking them to a for sale by owner, you need to get the for sale by owner to sign one of these as a seller. You're not offering that person seller agency. You're not offering to list their home. You're not offering them dual agency. You're offering to work with them where they're unrepresented and you're a buyer agent. So you check the box here or the blank here that says, hey, I'm a buyer agent. I'm working with you as an unrepresented seller. So in that scenario, when you hand this to a for sale by owner, you will only check this box and you will tell them, I'm a buyer agent. I work for the buyer. You're unrepresented. So if you have your own seller sign this, you will check the first three boxes. If you have a unrepresented seller sign this where you're representing the buyer, you will check this box. That's it. Those are the two scenarios. Any questions? The rest of it down here is the same as before, your name and license number, the firm name, and they sign and everything. So any questions at all about how to fill it out when you're handing this form to someone who is selling their home? Okay, don't see any questions. Let's move on to the buyer one. Now this is basically the same, just in reverse. You're handing this to a buyer. You're going to work with them as a buyer agent. You're obviously offering them buyer agency. Fathom, the firm, is also offering them the possibility of dual agency and the possibility of designated dual agency. Now this doesn't mean that's going to happen, but it's possible. So if you're handing this to your buyer who's going to sign a buyer agency agreement with you, you will check these three boxes or these three blanks. Same thing as before. You're not having them initial. You're just checking it to let them know, hey, these relationship types may apply to you. Now let's look at this last one, unrepresented buyer. There are two scenarios that you will use this in. The far more common one is a scenario where you're a listing agent and a buyer comes to you and says, hey, I'd like to buy this home, or I'd like to see it, and then they want to buy it. You tell them, look, I don't do dual agency. I don't like dual agency. I'm only going to work for the seller. Let's get you a buyer agent. And they say, I don't need no agent. I'll just work alone. I'm going to be unrepresented. So you say, fine. You still want to have them sign. You want to check this box. It lets them know that they are unrepresented and you are working for the seller. You will only check this box. You are not offering that buyer agency. You're not offering that buyer dual agency or designated dual agency. You're only offering them unrepresented buyer status. Now, if they say, yeah, fine, I'll take an agent, and you refer them to another Fathom agent, you don't have them sign this. The other Fathom agent will have them sign this because they're the ones that will be the buyer agent. So that's why you wouldn't check anything over here anyway. They're not your client. Now, the other scenario that's going to happen, that could happen, it's very rare. Say you have a buyer and they refuse to sign a buyer agency agreement with you for whatever reason. Sometimes folks just do what they do. You can still submit an offer for them, but you're not going to be their buyer agent. You're going to be their seller subagent or a seller subagent. You're actually working for the seller. Now, in that scenario, on the notice information page of the contract, where you check those little boxes that say what you are, you're going to check the box that says acting as a seller subagent. you're not going to check the box that says buyer agent. You're going to have the buyer sign this if they're willing. Sometimes if they're not willing to sign a buyer agency agreement, they aren't even willing to sign this. But if they're willing to sign this, you would check this box or this blank. I don't know why I keep saying boxes. I need to make these into boxes. And you will have them be let them understand that they are still unrepresented and you're a seller sub-agent. Now, the other thing you need to do is you need to first check to make sure that the listing agency will pay seller sub-agencies. Fathom's policy is not to pay seller sub-agents. The other firm that you take this buyer to might have the same policy, and then you're not going to get paid unless you can convince this buyer to sign a buyer agency agreement with you. So if you're ready to show a listing to this person and they're not willing to sign a buyer agency, and that listing is not willing to pay seller sub-agents, then you probably don't want to show that home. You might end up wasting some time and then end up not getting paid. So any questions about when you would check this blank or any other questions about working with real estate agents? It's really not too difficult once you just understand some of those basic concepts. Starting tomorrow, this is mandatory. You have to use this document starting tomorrow. If your district director gets one of these forms and the date on, or if they get an old form, the old working real estate agents, and they see that it was signed on July 1st or later, they will send it back to you. So make sure you start using this tomorrow, July 1st. Any questions at all about the new working with real estate agents form? Okay, well that completes our today. I'm gonna stop the recording, but then if anyone has any other questions about, pretty much anything,